Richard Hale didn't like surprises. Every morning was the same. Wake up at 6. Black coffee, no sugar. Put on his gray suit. Check his phone. Walk 3 blocks to his favorite restaurant for breakfast. The same table. The same eggs. The same silence. Richard liked things he could control. Money? He had lots of it. Power? Everyone knew his name. Friends? He didn't need them. Family? Well, that was complicated. This Tuesday morning started like all the others. The sky was bright. The city streets smelled like fresh bread from a bakery on the corner. Richard walked with his head high, looking straight ahead. People moved out of his way. Nobody talked to him. That's how he liked it. Then everything changed. Mister, please. A small voice cut through the morning noise like a knife through butter. Richard kept walking. Kids were always yelling on the street. It wasn't his problem. Please, you have to stop. Tiny hands grabbed Richard's jacket. He froze. Someone was touching him. Someone small was holding onto him like their life depended on it. Richard turned around, ready to be angry, but the words died in his throat. A little boy stared up at him, maybe 6 years old, maybe 7. His dark skin was covered in dirt. His clothes were too big and had holes in them. His shoes didn't match. But his eyes were huge and scared and full of tears. "Let go of me," Richard said, pulling his jacket away. "Where are your parents?" "You," the boy shouted. "You're him. You're the man in the picture." Richard's heart did something strange. It jumped, just for a second. "What picture? I don't know you. Let me go." But the boy wouldn't stop. His little fingers dug into Richard's expensive suit like claws. People were starting to stare. A woman stopped with her shopping bags. A man in a uniform slowed down to watch. "Please, please, please." The boy was crying now, big tears running down his dirty cheeks. "And he showed me. She said if I ever found you, I had to hold on tight and never let go." "Found me?" Richard felt cold. "Boy, you're confused. I'm calling security." "No." The child screamed so loud that everyone on the street stopped moving. "You're my grandpa. My daddy's daddy. Please don't leave me." The world went quiet. Richard felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Grandpa? His son had died 5 years ago. His son, Michael. The boy he pushed away. The young man who wanted to do art instead of business. The one who said he was in love. The one Richard told to never come back. "That's impossible," Richard whispered. "It's not. It's not." The boy reached into his dirty pocket and pulled out something, a photograph, crumpled and old. He shoved it at Richard with shaking hands. Richard took it. His hand was shaking too. The photo showed Michael, his son, smiling bigger than Richard had ever seen. Michael was holding a baby, a tiny, beautiful baby wrapped in a blue blanket. On the back, in Michael's handwriting, it said, "JJ and me. I'll tell Dad someday. I promise." "Where did you get this?" Richard's voice cracked. "From my daddy's box. The box Annie keeps under her bed. The box with all the letters he wrote to you. The letters he never sent because he was too scared." Scared. Richard felt his legs go weak. Scared of what? The boy looked up at him with those big, wet eyes. "Scared you wouldn't love him anymore. Scared you wouldn't love me." Richard's heart broke. Right there on the street. It actually broke into pieces. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Jaden. But Daddy called me JJ. Just like you see in the picture. Where's your daddy now, JJ?" The boy's face crumpled. "Heaven. He had an accident. A car hit him when I was little. I don't remember him much. But Andy says he talked about you all the time. He said you were strong and smart and important. And your mother?" JJ looked down at his mismatched shoes. "She died when I was born. That's what Annie says. She was sick and the baby, me. I made it worse. Daddy took care of me by himself. Then he died too." Richard felt something wet on his face. Tears. He was crying. Richard Hale, the millionaire who never showed feelings, was crying on a public street. "So Annie takes care of you now?" JJ nodded. "She tries. But we don't have much money. We live in a tiny room. Sometimes there's no food. Annie works 2 jobs, but it's not enough. She says the world is hard for people like us. People like us? People with dark skin and no money. JJ said simply, people you probably don't like. Those words hit Richard harder than anything, because they were true, or they used to be true. Richard had opinions about people. Strong opinions, mean opinions, and his son knew it. That's why Michael never came home. That's why Michael hid his family. I'm sorry, Richard whispered. For what? For everything. For making your daddy scared. For not knowing about you. For... He couldn't finish. JJ wiped his eyes. Auntie says you might not believe me. She says rich people don't trust poor people. She says you might think we want your money. Do you? The boy looked confused. I want a grandpa. I want someone who remembers my daddy. I want someone who won't disappear. Richard knelt down. His expensive suit touched the dirty sidewalk. He looked JJ right in the eyes. Tell me where your Annie is. JJ's face lit up like the sun. Really? You'll come? You believe me? I don't know what I believe yet, Richard said honestly. But I'm going to find out. And JJ, yes. I won't disappear. I promise. The boy threw his arms around Richard's neck. He smelled like sweat and dirt and hope, and Richard hugged him back, right there on the street, with everyone watching. For the first time in 5 years, Richard Hale felt something other than emptiness. He felt scared, and that meant he still had a heart after all. The apartment was tiny, so tiny that Richard had to turn sideways to fit through the door. JJ led him up 4 flights of stairs. The building smelled like old food and leaking pipes. Paint peeled off the walls like dead skin. Richard had seen places like this before, but only from his car window. He never thought he'd actually walk inside one. Annie! JJ yelled, bursting through a crooked door. Annie, I found him. I found Grandpa. A woman appeared from behind a curtain. She was young, maybe 30, with tired eyes and hands that looked old from too much work. When she saw Richard, she froze. JJ, what did you do? Her voice shook. I found him, just like you said. I held on tight and didn't let go. JJ bounced on his toes, proud of himself. The woman looked at Richard like he was a ghost. Mr. Hale, you know who I am, Richard said. It wasn't a question. She nodded slowly. I've seen your picture, in the papers, on the news. Michael showed me once, years ago. She wiped her hands on her worn dress. I'm Maya, Michael's friend, and JJ's aunt. His friend? Maya's eyes filled with tears. His family, the only family that mattered after you. She stopped herself. I'm sorry. Please, sit down, if the chair can hold you. Richard sat carefully on a wooden chair that wobbled. The whole apartment was one room, a bed in the corner, a hot plate on a box, clothes hanging on a rope, and JJ watching them both with those big, hopeful eyes. JJ, baby, go play outside for a minute, Maya said softly. But, please, grown-ups need to talk. JJ looked at Richard with panic. You won't leave, will you? You promised. Richard felt that crack in his heart split wider. I promised. I'll be here when you come back. The boy left slowly, looking back 3 times before closing the door. Maya sat down on the bed. For a long moment, she just stared at her hands. Is it true? Richard asked, Is that boy my grandson? Yes. Prove it. Maya stood up and pulled a shoebox from under the bed. It was old, held together with rubber bands. She placed it in Richard's lap like it was made of glass. Everything you need is in there. Michael kept it all. He was going to give it to you someday when he was brave enough. Richard's hands shook as he opened the box. Letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to Dad, but never sent. Richard picked up the first one. The paper was yellow with age. Michael's handwriting, messy but honest, filled every line. Dear Dad, I met someone. Her name is Amara. She's beautiful and kind and smart. She makes me laugh. She thinks my art is good. I think I love her. I know you want to prove. She's not like the girls you wanted me to meet. She's not rich. She's not white. But, Dad, she's everything. I wish I could tell you. I wish you'd be happy for me. But I'm scared. I'm so scared you'll look at me the way you looked at me when I said I wanted to paint instead of work in your office. Maybe someday I'll be brave enough to send this. Love, Michael. Richard's vision blurred. He grabbed another letter. Dear Dad, Amara is pregnant. We're having a baby. I am terrified. I'm 22 years old. I don't know how to be a father. But I'm also happy. Really, really happy. I want to tell you. I want you to meet him. I want you to hold your grandson and see that love doesn't care about skin color or bank accounts. But I already know what you'll say. I can hear your voice in my head. You threw your life away. You chose poverty over power. You embarrassed the family name. So I won't tell you. Not yet. Maybe when he's older. Maybe when you're softer. If that day ever comes. Michael. Richard couldn't breathe. The letters fell from his hands like autumn leaves. There are 37 letters in that box, Maya said quietly. One for every month from the time he met my sister until the day he died. Your sister? Amara. She was my older sister. My beautiful, gentle sister. Maya's voice cracked. She died giving birth to JJ. Something went wrong. The doctors couldn't stop the bleeding. Michael held her hand while she took her last breath. I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. How could you? Michael never told you. He raised JJ alone for 5 years. Worked 3 jobs. Lived in places like this. Painted whenever he could. He loved that boy more than life itself. What happened to Michael? Maya wiped her eyes with her sleeve. He was crossing the street with JJ. A car ran a red light. Michael pushed JJ out of the way just in time. But he wasn't fast enough to save himself. Richard felt like he was drowning. JJ saw it. He was 4 years old. He still has nightmares. And you took him in? Of course I did. He's my nephew. My sister's son. My Michael's boy. Maya stood up, anger flashing in her tired eyes. What was I supposed to do? Let him go to strangers? Let him disappear into the foster system? I didn't mean... I know what you meant. You're wondering why I didn't come to you sooner. Why I didn't show up at your big house with my hand out, begging for money. Richard looked down. She was right. I didn't come because Michael made me promise, Maya said. He said if anything happened to him, I should only tell you about JJ if I thought you'd changed. If I thought you could love a grandson who didn't look like you or act like you or fit into your perfect world. And now I'm desperate. I'm working 2 jobs and it's not enough. JJ needs medicine for his asthma. He needs new shoes. He needs to go to a real school. I can't give him those things. Maya's voice broke completely. But he needs more than things. He needs family. He needs to know his father's father. He needs to know he comes from somewhere. Richard looked at the letters scattered on the floor. 37 chances to know his son. 37 conversations he'd never have. 37 moments he destroyed with his pride and his coldness and his stupid rules about who mattered and who didn't. I want a DNA test, Richard said. Maya nodded. I expected that. I already found a clinic. They can do it today. Today? I knew if JJ found you, you'd want proof. Rich people always want proof. There was no anger in her voice anymore. Just sadness. 3 hours later, Richard sat in a clinic that smelled like cleaning chemicals. A nurse took a swab from inside his mouth. Another nurse did the same to JJ, who sat very still and tried to be brave. Results in 4 hours, the nurse said. We'll call you. Those 4 hours felt like 4 years. Richard took Maya and JJ to a restaurant. A real restaurant with tablecloths and menus and food that didn't come from a hot plate. JJ's eyes got huge when he saw all the choices. Can I have pancakes? He whispered. You can have anything you want, Richard said. JJ ordered pancakes with chocolate chips and whipped cream. He ate slowly, like he was afraid the food would disappear if he went too fast. Richard watched him and felt something new growing in his chest. Something warm and fierce and protective. His phone rang at exactly 6:47 p.m. Mr. Hale, this is Dr. Chun from the clinic. Yes. The results are conclusive. The probability of paternity is 99.98%. The child is definitely your biological grandson. Richard closed his eyes. Thank you. He hung up and looked across the table at JJ, who had whipped cream on his nose. Well, Maya asked. He's mine, Richard whispered. He's really mine. JJ looked up. Does that mean you're keeping me? Richard felt tears again, hot and real and unstoppable. Yes, JJ, I'm keeping you. Both of you. I'm going to take care of you like I should have taken care of your father. I'm going to be the grandpa you deserve. I'm going to... He couldn't finish, because JJ had jumped out his chair and thrown himself into Richard's arms, sticky hands and all. I knew it. JJ said into Richard's shoulder. I knew you'd love me. Daddy said you had a good heart. You just forgot where you put it. Richard held his grandson and cried. He cried for Michael. He cried for Amara. He cried for all the years he'd wasted being hard and cold and wrong. But mostly he cried because he'd been given something he didn't deserve. A second chance. Richard didn't sleep that night. He sat in his big, empty house. The house with 12 rooms and no laughter, and read every single letter his son had written. He read them twice, then 3 times. By morning, he had memorized whole paragraphs. Dad, I hope you know I never stopped loving you, even when you said those things. Even when you told me to choose between you and my art. Even when you slammed the door. I still loved you. I just couldn't be who you wanted me to be. Those words burned in Richard's chest like fire. At 7 a.m., Richard made a phone call. This is Richard Hale. I need a press conference. Today, noon, at my office. Make sure every news station in the city knows. His assistant sounded confused. Sir, what's this about? Family, Richard said. It's about family. By 11:30 a.m., the lobby of Hale Industries was packed with reporters, cameras, and curious people who'd heard rumors that the great Richard Hale had something important to say. Richard stood backstage with Maya and JJ. JJ wore new clothes, real clothes that fit and didn't have holes. Richard had taken them shopping that morning. JJ had been so excited about the sneakers with lights in them that he'd hugged the shoes like they were puppies. Are you sure about this? Maya asked nervously. Once you tell the world, you can't take it back. I don't want to take it back, Richard said firmly. I hid my son's life because I was ashamed. I won't hide my grandson. But people will talk. They'll say mean things. About JJ. About me. About... Let them talk. Richard's voice was strong. I spent my whole life caring what people thought. It made me rich, but it made me lonely, and it cost me my son. JJ tugged on Richard's sleeve. Grandpa, I'm scared. There are so many people. Richard knelt down, just like he had on the street yesterday. Was it really only yesterday? It felt like a lifetime ago. I know you're scared, JJ. I'm scared too. But sometimes the right thing to do is also the scary thing. Your daddy knew that. He was brave enough to love who he loved, even when the world said he shouldn't. Now it's my turn to be brave. What if people don't like me? JJ's voice was so small. Then those people don't matter. The only thing that matters is that you're my grandson, and I'm proud of you, and I will protect you from anyone who tries to hurt you. Promise? Promise. At exactly noon, Richard walked onto the stage. The cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted questions all at once. Richard raised his hand, and the room went quiet. Thank you for coming, he began. His voice didn't shake. I have an announcement to make. But first, I need to tell you a story. A story about a father who made terrible mistakes. The room was silent. Everyone leaned forward. 5 years ago, my son Michael died in a car accident. I didn't go to his funeral. I didn't cry. I didn't even know where he was buried. Because 5 years before that, I told him to never come back. I told him he was a disappointment. I told him he'd embarrass me. Gasps echoed through the crowd. My son's crime? He fell in love with a woman I didn't approve of. He wanted to be an artist instead of a businessman. He wanted to be happy instead of rich. Richard's voice cracked, and I couldn't accept that, so I lost him. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Hale, why are you telling us this? Because yesterday, I found out that Michael had a son, a 5-year-old boy named Jaden. My grandson, a child I never knew existed because Michael was too afraid to tell me. Afraid I would reject his son the same way I rejected him. The cameras went crazy. Richard gestured to the side of the stage. JJ, Maya, please come here. JJ walked out slowly, holding Maya's hand. He looked so small under all those bright lights. But he walked straight to Richard and took his other hand. The cameras caught it all. This is Jaden, Richard said, his voice full of love. My grandson. And this is Maya, his aunt, who has taken care of him with nothing but love and courage. They came to find me because they needed help, and I almost turned them away. I almost made the same mistake twice. Mr. Hale, what changed your mind? Another reporter shouted. Richard looked down at JJ. He did. This brave little boy grabbed me on the street and wouldn't let go. He showed me a picture of his father. He told me the truth, and he gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. What's that? A second chance. The room exploded with questions, but Richard held up his hand again. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here to make a promise, a public promise, so I can never break it. He squeezed JJ's hand. I promise to be the grandfather this boy deserves. I promise to support Maya, who has been a mother to him when no one else would. I promise to honor my son's memory by loving the family he created. And I promise to use my money and my power to make sure no child ever feels unwanted because of who they are or where they come from. One reporter stood up. Mr. Hale, are you saying you're taking custody of the boy? I'm saying we're building a family. Together, Maya will have a home, a job, and every resource she needs. JJ will have everything he needs: education, healthcare, love. And I will have what I should have had all along: a grandson to teach, to protect, and to learn from. What about your business? Your reputation? Some people might not approve. Then they can disapprove, Richard said coldly. My reputation cost me my son. I won't let it cost me my grandson, too. The press conference lasted another hour. Richard answered every question honestly. He didn't hide his mistakes. He didn't make excuses. He just told the truth. When it was finally over, Richard led JJ and Maya back to his car. The biggest, fanciest car JJ had ever seen. Wow! JJ whispered, touching the leather seats. This is like a spaceship. It's just a car, Richard said. But he was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in years. They drove through the city. JJ pressed his face against the window, watching everything zoom by. Maya sat quietly, tears streaming down her face. Why are you crying, Annie? JJ asked. Because I'm happy, baby. So happy. The car pulled up to Richard's mansion. JJ's eyes got huge. Is this a castle? It's a house, Richard said. And now it's your house, too. They went inside. Richard showed them a room he'd prepared for JJ. Painted blue with stars on the ceiling, filled with toys and books and everything a little boy could want. This is mine. JJ could barely breathe. All yours. JJ ran around the room, touching everything like it might disappear. Then he stopped. His face got serious. Grandpa. Yes. Can we go home now? Richard froze. JJ, this is home. This is your new home. JJ shook his head. I know, but I mean, can we go get my things? From the old place? I have a picture of my daddy. And a blanket Annie made me. And a rock, I found that looks like a heart. Richard felt his throat get tight. Of course. We'll go right now. And Grandpa, yes. Can the old home still be there sometimes? In case I miss it? In case I want to remember? Richard knelt down one more time. He looked at this beautiful, wise, incredible little boy. JJ, you can remember anything you want. You can keep any part of your old life that makes you happy. This isn't about erasing who you were. It's about adding to who you are. JJ thought about that. Then he smiled. Like adding chocolate chips to pancakes? Richard laughed. A real, deep, happy laugh. Exactly like that. That night, after JJ was asleep in his new bed with his old blanket and his rock that looked like a heart, Richard sat in his study. He pulled out the letters one more time. He read the last one Michael had written, the one dated just 2 days before the accident. Dear Dad, JJ asked about you today. He's 4 now, and he's starting to notice that other kids have grandparents. I didn't know what to say, so I told him the truth. I said, your grandpa is very strong and very smart. He built a big company and a big life. But sometimes strong people forget that love is stronger than anything else. Maybe someday he'll remember. JJ asked, will I ever meet him? I said, I hope so, buddy. I really hope so. Dad, if you're reading this, it probably means I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. Sorry I wasn't brave enough to come back. Sorry I kept JJ from you. Sorry for everything. But if you're reading this, it also means you found him. You found my boy. And I'm begging you, please love him. Please be the grandpa I always wanted you to be. Please give him the acceptance you couldn't give me. He's so special, Dad. He's funny and kind and smart. He's the best thing I ever did. And he deserves to know where he comes from. Please don't let him grow up thinking he's not enough. Because he's everything. I love you, Dad. I always did. Michael. Richard folded the letter carefully. He put it in a frame and hung it on the wall where he'd see it every single day. I found him, Michael, Richard whispered to the empty room. And I promise you, I will love him enough for both of us. Upstairs, JJ was dreaming of chocolate chip pancakes and sneakers with lights, and a grandpa who kept his promises. And in that big house that used to be so empty, a family was beginning again. What would you do if a stranger arrived claiming to be your family? Would you embrace the truth or retreat into doubt? If this story touched your heart, like this video to help others find it. Share it with someone who needs to hear a message about second chances and family. And subscribe so you never miss another powerful story that will make you think, feel, and believe in the power of love. Drop a comment below and tell us, what was the moment that hit you hardest? Was it JJ grabbing Richard on the street, the letters, or the promise at the end? Thanks for reading, and remember, it's never too late to come home.